The United States Postal Service says it could run out of cash around February 2027. Not run out of profit. Not miss an ambitious Wall Street target. Run out of the money it needs to pay employees, pay suppliers, and keep the mail moving. That is a strange thing to hear about an institution older than the country itself. Especially one with the words, United States, printed right in its name. If USPS is part of the federal government, how can it go broke? Why can't Congress simply cover the bill? And what happens to your mail if the money actually runs out? The answer is buried inside one of the weirdest business models in America. USPS is expected to act like a public service and a self-supporting company at the same time. It must serve almost every address in the country, whether delivering there makes financial sense or not. But unlike most federal agencies, USPS generally receives no tax dollars for ordinary operating expenses. It pays its bills largely by selling stamps, shipping labels, mail services, and access to its enormous delivery network. That arrangement worked much better when Americans sent mountains of letters, bills, statements, checks, catalogs, and advertisements through the mail. Then the internet quietly attacked the most profitable part of the system. People switched to email, bills moved online, bank statements became digital, companies stopped mailing as much paper. First-class mail volume kept shrinking while the number of addresses USPS had to serve kept growing. In 2006, the Postal Service handled roughly 220 billion pieces of mail. Today, that number is around half as large. But USPS cannot look at a rural road with 3 houses and say, sorry, this route isn't profitable anymore. Its universal service obligation requires it to serve nearly the entire population and generally deliver mail at least 6 days a week. In 2024, USPS described a network reaching approximately 169 million addresses. In 2025, it added an average of more than 6,000 addresses every day. That is the central problem. The delivery network keeps getting larger while the traditional mail flowing through it keeps getting smaller. A private company facing that mismatch could abandon unprofitable customers, close weak locations, raise prices whenever it wanted, or sell only premium service. USPS cannot freely do those things. Congress, regulators, labor agreements, public expectations, and its legal mission all shape what it may change. That gives the Postal Service an impossible-sounding assignment: deliver almost everywhere, almost every day, keep prices affordable, compete with private companies, follow government rules, and somehow finance the entire system itself. For years, it has not balanced. The Government Accountability Office says USPS has lost about $118 billion since it last recorded positive net income in fiscal 2006. Its financial viability has remained on the government's high-risk list since 2009. USPS lost $9.5 billion in fiscal 2024 and another $9 billion in fiscal 2025. Its own 2026 financial plan anticipated an $8.1 billion net loss. During the second quarter of fiscal 2026, USPS generated $20.2 billion in operating revenue, and still recorded a $2 billion net loss under standard accounting rules. The situation is more complicated than saying the mail itself loses exactly that amount in cash every year. Some reported losses include large retirement obligations, workers' compensation adjustments, and other costs that management describes as outside its immediate control. USPS also publishes a controllable result intended to show more of the underlying operation. But this is not merely an accounting illusion. The cash pressure became serious enough that USPS temporarily suspended certain employer pension contributions in April 2026 so it could preserve money for payroll, suppliers, and mail operations. Officials described the situation as a severe liquidity crisis. USPS did not stop sending employee deductions to the government, and the move was not expected to immediately change current retirement payments. But the message was hard to miss. The Postal Service was choosing which obligations could wait so the mail would not. That is how a giant institution can report billions in revenue and still face a cash deadline. Revenue is the money coming in. Liquidity is the money actually available when payroll and other bills come due. A business can own trucks, buildings, equipment, and valuable infrastructure, and still fail if it cannot produce enough spendable cash at the right moment. The Postal Service cannot solve that problem by selling itself to investors. It has no normal shareholders waiting to inject capital, and it cannot issue stock. Its borrowing authority is also limited by law. Postmaster General David Steiner asked Congress to raise USPS's borrowing cap from $15 billion to $34.5 billion. That could create breathing room. But borrowing more money does not fix a business model that continues losing it. So USPS has pulled the lever consumers notice first: higher prices. The price of a Forever stamp increased from 78 cents to 82 cents in July 2026. Package and commercial rates have also changed as USPS tries to collect more revenue from the network it is legally required to maintain. That sounds straightforward. If the service needs more money, charge more for the service. But mail pricing contains its own trap. Raise prices too slowly, and revenue cannot cover the network. Raise them too quickly, and businesses send fewer catalogs, statements, and advertisements, or move those communications online even faster. USPS gets more money from each remaining piece while accelerating the disappearance of future pieces. Critics have described that as raising prices while reducing service. USPS argues that its prices remain affordable compared with postal systems in other industrialized countries and that it needs greater pricing freedom to support universal delivery. Both sides are reacting to the same uncomfortable reality. Somebody has to pay for the route to every mailbox. Packages were supposed to help replace lost letter revenue. Online shopping gave USPS something valuable: millions of boxes that still needed a physical trip to a physical address. USPS Ground Advantage has become an important source of growth. The network is particularly valuable in expensive last-mile locations. UPS, Amazon, and other companies can move packages across the country efficiently, then use USPS for the final delivery in places where building a duplicate network may not make sense. That makes USPS essential, but it does not automatically make every package profitable. If a commercial customer pays too little for a costly delivery, volume can make the financial problem larger. If USPS charges too much, the customer may build its own network or move packages elsewhere. The Postal Service's relationship with Amazon shows that tension perfectly. Amazon has spent billions expanding its own delivery operation, including in rural America. Reports in early 2026 suggested it might sharply reduce the volume sent through USPS when the company's agreement changed. They ultimately reached a deal that reportedly involved a much smaller reduction than first feared. But the episode exposed a dangerous dependency. One enormous customer can change the economics of the network by moving billions of dollars of business. And Amazon can choose which deliveries it wants to handle. USPS still has to visit the address. This is why the Postal Service is not simply a badly run version of UPS or FedEx. UPS and FedEx are businesses that decide which services to sell and how to price them. USPS is infrastructure. It supports elections, government notices, small businesses, passports, checks, legal documents, prescription drugs, and affordable delivery to communities private companies may find expensive. If USPS truly ran out of operating cash, Congress would face enormous pressure to intervene before the country simply stopped receiving mail. That makes a sudden nationwide shutdown unlikely. But unlikely to disappear does not mean nothing changes. The rescue could arrive through higher borrowing authority, direct appropriations, changes to pension calculations, more pricing power, revised service requirements, or some combination of all of them. Every option has a consumer attached to it. More pricing authority means stamps and packages can become more expensive. More borrowing pushes the problem into the future and creates repayment obligations. Taxpayer support means people pay even if they rarely send mail. Reducing delivery frequency could cut costs, but it could also delay medications, payments, ballots, and important documents. Closing or consolidating facilities can produce savings while making service less convenient, especially in rural communities. Slower standards may reduce transportation costs, but the customer receives a worse product. Congress could also reconsider exactly what universal service should mean in a digital country. Does every address need letter delivery 6 days a week? Should remote service be explicitly subsidized? Which costs belong to mail users, and which belong to the public because the network serves a national purpose? Those are political questions, but the math exists regardless of party. You cannot demand universal, frequent, affordable delivery while shrinking the product that pays for it, and then refuse to decide who covers the gap. The Postal Regulatory Commission granted USPS temporary flexibility over billions of dollars in revenue previously connected to retirement obligations. The Commission has also urged Congress to define what level of universal postal service the country actually requires and how it should be funded. That may be the most honest version of the problem. USPS is not merely running out of cash. America has avoided deciding whether the Postal Service is primarily a business, a public utility, or a government service. When it earns money, people expect business efficiency. When it raises prices, people demand government affordability. When it considers reducing service, people remember that private carriers do not reach every community in the same way. We want it to operate like all three, but pay for itself like only one. So what happens in February 2027? Probably not a dark post office and millions of abandoned letters on the sidewalk. The deadline is a warning intended to force regulatory and congressional action before the money reaches zero. But the actions taken to avoid that moment may matter more than the deadline itself. Consumers should expect continued arguments over stamp prices, package rates, delivery speeds, facility changes, borrowing, retirement obligations, and whether public money should support the network. Small businesses should pay especially close attention. A few cents on one letter means little. Higher rates across thousands of packages, invoices, catalogs, or customer orders can materially change a business. Rural households should watch service proposals carefully too. The most expensive addresses to serve are often the places with the fewest realistic alternatives. USPS still processes and delivers hundreds of millions of pieces on an average day. That scale is why its problems feel invisible, until a check, medication, passport, ballot, or package does not arrive. The Postal Service is not valuable because every envelope makes money. It is valuable because the network is already there when the country needs it. And that is the fine print behind the crisis. America built a public obligation, financed it through a shrinking commercial product, and kept postponing the decision about what happens when the two no longer match. USPS probably will not be allowed to vanish. But saving it will require somebody to pay more, accept less, or finally admit that universal mail delivery is a public service worth funding directly. The only question is whether that somebody is the person buying the stamp, the business shipping the package, the employee waiting on a pension contribution, the rural household waiting for delivery, or every taxpayer in America. If you want more stories about the hidden systems and recognizable institutions quietly shaping what consumers pay and receive, subscribe to Past the Fine Print.